This is good. My geothermal unit's off and I have my earbuds in, so I'm going to see if this is going to be able to give me a better audio than just speaking out regularly. I'm not here to bash Trump whatsoever, so if some of you are going to listen to this and think that I'm just jumping ship, this is not about me jumping ship. Lately, though, and it's not just lately, okay, so and I'm just going to rant over here. I do Twitter, and I only joined Twitter because of President Trump. I wanted to hear from the horse's mouth, not that I'm calling him a horse, but I wanted to hear from President Trump himself if and what and how and why and when he said what he said. And for the most part, it's been really great because that's exactly what happens, you know. The man starts tweeting at like 6 o'clock in the morning on a regular, and we can see his energy level, we can see his participation in our country. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and I do believe that it's him tweeting. But lately, he's been doing this thing that, okay, let me roll back. Am I the only one that noticed there was a certain persona that Trump had when he was running? And of course he's going to have something different when he's running because this is pre-election. He's going to have to cater to certain people and say certain things just to kind of like reel everyone in. But there was a certain energy or so about him initially, and he maintained that through the debates up until he was elected. And it was just like right shortly after he was elected, but before the inauguration, something kind of shifted. He almost seemed like, I mean, there were several things going on. Of course, there was the whole chemical weapons ordeal, and I'm not even just talking about anything really specific to note it by. I just mean it seemed like something in his delivery, in his how he talked, just who he was as a person, you know. Although I was very upset whenever he started talking the Clintons had suffered enough. I know that, you know, people talk about 4D chess and all this other stuff. Obviously, he mentioned himself he wasn't going to sit there and disclose information about what his strategy is. So this is to be understood. However, after a certain amount of time passes, and quite frankly, 6 months is not going to be that certain amount of time. I mean, that's just not enough time to really do a comprehensive evaluation of his behavior. I don't know what the answer is to how long that time frame needs to be, but 6 months, I would still say, is not going to be a comprehensive amount of time to really make an assessment, particularly when you're talking about so many layers that he has to kind of contend with, as far as his cabinet, as, you know, being bombarded by all this other nonsense that comes at him left and right. I mean, there's just so much to kind of try and keep up with. You can't even, like, the little things aren't even little, but we just kind of let those go by because who can keep up with all of them, you know? But just to kind of go back to whenever he kind of had this kind of change, and I was kind of getting very I don't want to say upset, because it wasn't like I really you know, I expect anything. I hope for the best all the time, but I expect just about anything to happen. You know, I have a huge lack of faith or trust in any political official. You know, there's just nothing that any of them have really ever done that make me think that they're just that stellar. I mean, there could be a couple that maybe come close, but, you know, I'm skeptical and read the writing on the wall to see really at the end where the outcome was. I'm namely talking about Gowdy on that one. You know, if at the end everything is ineffectual, then what good does it really do? But and he's actually going to be questioning Kushner, I hear, coming soon. Could be happening now. But there was something that kind of happened, and all of a sudden Trump went from having his, you know, kind of boisterous cowboy kind of rough and tumble self to fitting more in line with, I don't know, maybe it was almost like he had a sobering effect once he actually was elected. And, I'm a little crazy, so I thought to myself, did they inject him, did they give him an injection of something, and now it's just like it's all over, he's just going to go into program mode or what. But I was so happy to see that he kind of bounced back to his normal self. I don't know, maybe about 4 months ago. I would say it might have been about 4 months ago. And, it's sad to say that that was noted personally by me, to whenever he started acting more like, kind of like sarcastic in his tweets or whatnot. But there's a certain flow that you can get from somebody through tweeting. And when that kind of gets disrupted, and maybe this is just for people who are kind of more of an empath and they can sense things more. You don't take things as literally, and you kind of take it as everything. You kind of take not just what somebody's saying, but kind of like how somebody's saying it, the frequency at which they're saying it, their response after they've made statements. And it's just kind of like when you're texting somebody. One person can respond back, okay. Another person can respond back, okay. And someone else could respond back like, okay. And just by how you understand that communication through text, you kind of know if something's off or not, And I think it's almost imperative for people to follow President Trump on the Twitter, because you can actually kind of catch that, even with all the craziness going on, you can still kind of catch that essence of who he is when he is tweeting. So I haven't quite figured out what that little fog was, that in-between time that I was just mentioning when he just didn't seem himself. I kind of suspect perhaps that he made some deals with, there's my geothermal unit. This is going to be trashed if all you hear is that. I'm kind of hoping that you don't, but I'm thinking, did he make some deals with people, and then he was thrown off, screwed over, so he just had to, change gears? I mean, that could be it. At any rate, he never did go back and say that he was going to hold HRC accountable for anything. Not that it's necessarily his direct job to do that. I mean, that's why, of course, we're supposed to have an attorney general, who, by the way, I had really conflicting feelings over until most recently. And then I'm thinking, did he just throw all the questionable people out there? I mean, Mueller, this was the FBI director on 9/11. I almost don't even expect Trump to know all of this. He has people around him, these advisors and so forth, who are to be telling him, who he should pick. It would be unreasonable to think that any one person could actually make all the decisions that need to be made from the seat of the president. I mean, this is why he's, flooded by people. So my question is, I'd like to know who really advised him so succinctly on Mueller. I'd like to know that. Who pushed that? Who encouraged that the most? Because I think if you can know that information and you can trace back, you're going to be able to see that there's a connection there somewhere. Oh, and I'm sure it's his own party. He wouldn't have really had a chance to win, I don't think, if he wouldn't have sided with the Republican Party. I mean, was it going to work if he was going to be independent? Although I definitely think he's more of an independent than a Republican. Anyway, I don't want to get into that conversation. But anyway, he's come back around now, and he's kind of like more his old Trump self whenever he was starting to go out and run for the election. But lately, it's like, it drives me crazy. And I'll tweet back to Trump, I mean, this is why I really have a Twitter, and I've picked up, some people on the way, but when he sits there and tweets about Hillary Clinton and the emails and the prosecution and why isn't this happening or why isn't that happening, I'm just like, with all due respect, President Trump, You know, if you're not the person to take hold of the situation and make something happen, then just please tell us who is. I mean, isn't he the one? Isn't he the one that's supposed to do that? I think so. I mean, I think so. I'm just like, I'm kind of all worked up. I didn't sleep much last night. I'm back from my vacation. I'm really happy about that. It's because I'm in my own space again, and that's good for me. Then I went to the gym, and I'm all sweaty, and got the hat on, and it's good. I need to look like crap, sometimes when I come and do these videos, because people are coming. I'm not going to always show cleavage or do the same thing all the time either. And then you get to know like what my like energy is too, all the different personalities and all this other stuff too. But it's all still going to be me. I guess is what I'm saying is you can learn people. You don't have to know every intricate detail of things, but you can kind of tell when certain things are off and whatnot. I think it's just really important to pay attention to President Trump and his behaviors, not just so much in what he does say, but what he doesn't say, and like things around him. And I tried to step away from it while I was away for like a week, and I even thought to myself, what really changes if you step away from all of that information, from that whole entire political theater? Does it really change the course of your life? No, it doesn't. I mean, you're going to get back into it, you're going to find out certain things, other things are going to be still hanging on, and it doesn't really change the course of life. But what does really matter is the following through, like following up on a story. There's all these fantastic stories, and then there's nothing. I was looking and skipping around today with all these stories about Blasio. I'll tell you what, man, this guy is like, it's like a fucking criminal, man. Blasio is like a fucking crook. He is. He's a crook. He's a crook. He's a criminal. He's had more fucking run-ins with the law and problems, and yet, but he shows up to the summit, really, to kind of say his little schmeal and protest Trump, and then there's nothing said about that. There are some crazy things that go on that are said, and I just always like throw it up, and I can't help but to think, if the shoe were on the other foot, and it's not like a defense mechanism, like I'm even trying to defend Trump, it's just like I'm trying to wrap my mind around like the fucking lunacy, I'm trying to wrap my mind around the point where you have like concrete factual data to prove certain parties have done certain things that are clearly against the law, and by saying something like no reasonable prosecutor will prosecute them, makes that just go away. And then you find out the person who said that, like they actually should be charged for like treasonous activity, because they got this little thing going on with the Attorney General and like the other Mr. President Clinton, and then everybody just doesn't talk about it. I mean, it's like the fucking Twilight Zone. And then I was on vacation. It was like a visitation kind of thing, but and trying not to talk about it, because I'm with people that I don't see eye to eye on, and you got to pick and choose your battles, because there are many to pick and choose from. Oh my goodness, I know. My flight of thought is just gone. Yeah, it is. It's kind of gone. So basically where I was going with this from the beginning was kind of getting to understand the energy that people have, particularly, our world leaders. It's kind of good to have. Trump is great to follow on Twitter. I wondered if anybody else noticed that little blip whenever he was with a certain, disposition of kind of, being more sarcastic, definitely less presidential, but, just how he is, like organically almost. And then there was that little time frame where he kind of stepped away from that, and there wasn't even anything like him anymore. And now he's kind of, regressed back to the old Trump, which I prefer. I mean, it does get excessive when he's tweeting, and sometimes I am, yeah, there are times where I'm definitely like, fuck, okay, just that's fine, it's enough. But then at the same time, I believe he's almost alive because of this, you know. That was something else crazy that came out today, too. Paul Joseph Watson, I think he sent out, it was a pastor, and I'll have to find that and I'll post links to that information. I'll post some links to the Blasio stuff too, and but this pastor was saying something about someone behind the scenes said something about you know, basically getting Trump out, and not just meaning impeachment. And this pastor was kind of convincing, and he's over there talking to this congregation of people. And these people are, you know, cheering or whatever. They're believing him. And I'm thinking to myself, if what he is saying is actually fact, if it's true, what he's saying, then, like, you know, NSA, CIA, obviously not the FBI, somebody needs to have him in a room answering these questions of, like, who is the Republican person that you allegedly gave you this information, and specifically what did they say? And if this isn't true, which I'm kind of guessing it's really not true, I don't know. If it isn't true, then this guy needs to be shown as the fraud that he is, and he should never have a platform, ever, so easily to speak to the masses again from, okay? There has to be accountability for what everybody is saying. You know, you read news reports, and God, it goes back to the same thing. And yes, people get so twisted, bent out of shape if you just say fake news. That's all it takes to set some people up into a fucking tizzy. You know, in some days I just like to needle that in sometimes too. But no, the whole thing with fake news, it fucks everybody up. You know, when you have people just like saying anything you want, there should be some sort of threshold for professionalism that people have to be held accountable. It has to be. I mean, it has to be. You can't just it can't go on the way that it's been going on. You know, it really can't be. And when President Trump comes out and starts tweeting, you know, about Clinton and, you know, the obvious, and I don't understand what he's asking. I'll find these tweets, and I'll reference the tweets I'm talking about too. Like, I mean, what are we supposed to say to him? Yeah, okay, so let's all sue Hillary? I mean, like, what does he want? There has to be something that takes place. I understand all good things come in time. It takes time. Everything doesn't happen overnight. And it has only been 6 months. I'll totally contradict myself by going from one extreme to the next. I'll defend him on one end and say, it's only been 6 months, he needs more time, he can't do anything. And on the other hand, I'm like, get stuff done. I just want to see progress. And there has been progress made. 6-month evaluation mark, you know, there has been progress made. I mean, I have never in my life, not that I've ever, you know, really researched it before, so thoroughly to see, like, who's being arrested for child pedophile. I mean, there's a lot more going on. You seen the e-fits of the Podesta brothers? Have you seen them? Yeah. Could you imagine if an e-fit came back looking like Trump when a little kid was missing? For fuck's sake, man, that would be like, that would be it. That would be done. It'll be interesting to see where this is going. I feel like we're just all still winding up in this funnel, you know, and it's getting more narrow and more narrow. Eventually, we're all going to have to come out the other end somewhere. I mean, I don't know where that's going to be, but somewhere. Oh, and then, of course, today, last thing. Then today, the whole, the new committee for voting. For the integrity of voting. All I have to say about that is, if you want integrity, you have to show accountability. If you want to show accountability, you have to show an ID. And I talked about that before too. I forget what it was, like 95% of everybody has a cell phone. You're not going to tell me that you can't obtain an ID card to identify yourself to vote. And now there's about that pushback. You know, there's a ton of pushback right now. People do not want this to go forward because it's going to come out not good for the Dems. It's not. Not that Republicans are faultless, in their behaviors. No, it's all over the board. I mean, I just want there to be like basic level of integrity and honesty from our government. It's not really that fucking hard to ask for, is it really? I mean, we really, as a people, have to rise up and demand the basics, you know? We have to demand that the people that are in charge aren't connected with, like, fucking murders, you know, like crime that goes on, with pedophilia, with, like, bringing drugs into our country. It shouldn't be that difficult to ask. It really shouldn't be. I think we'd be better off if we just, picked a panel of people that almost anonymously to do things with almost no damn political experience. Some education, but not necessarily political experience. Okay, so this was like such an experiment, so I'm going to turn this off and listen to my microphone. If this is all garbled, I've just totally pittered away 21 minutes. Oh well, it's fine too. Maybe I'll upload it anyway. Alright, have a great week. Bye.